And hello, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment with me, your host Jonathan. Once again, bringing you my thoughts and review for last night's episode of Daredevil: Born Again, episode 7. Now, if you have not caught up, spoilers alert, because this was the very odd but very good episode. So let's talk about it. All right, so we all know that Daredevil finally met Muse, and he's finally back in costume. We also get this all that, Fisk took out his anger on, Vanessa's lover from last week's episode after one of his, fellow employees started talking smack to Kingpin, so he needed to let off steam. So in this week's episode, we get to find out, okay, who is this Muse? And, his victim, which was White Tiger's niece, he kidnapped her. She's in the hospital recuperating. Daredevil goes, "Are you okay? Do you remember anything?" She doesn't. And then we get to see some moments of just Mad dealing with, dealing with the bruises, taking a shower, kind of like a baptizing thing of like he's coming back as Daredevil again because he's now reflecting on what happened, which was a great fight scene from the last episode. And then, of course, we get to see his girlfriend, Heather, go to therapy because she's a therapist. And then she starts talking to this kid who has some problems, he wants to work it out. And then, by small details, we get to see him talk about, his personal life, how his parents treated him badly, forces him to do things, especially karate. And then you start getting the pieces like, okay, wait a minute. Why is this guy talking about like something weird's about to go on? Then you start seeing him write down something with his own blood because he started bleeding from his nose, and then all of a sudden we find out that this kid was really Muse. Then Kingpin, he's also reflecting on the fact that okay, Daredevil's back. We had a pact. We made a deal. You're not supposed to come back. I'm not gonna do crime, which. Yeah, we all know Kingpin was gonna be lying about that, and his boys are telling him yeah, I think the Daredevil's back, and Kingpin's either refusing to believe it or he's just at the point of breaking again, he's angry the fact that he's back, broke his promise, and he has nothing to do with it. But we also get to see moments of Fisk finding out about who Muse is because one of the police detectives found out who he was, and then he started putting the pieces together, and then he finds out that his therapist is being kidnapped by Muse, who is in the office with her, and then he starts talking about how, oh, thank you for letting me be me, thank you for letting me, be who I'm supposed to be, a true artist. And then we get to see Muse come out, literally come out, putting his mask on and torture her. And, he starts cutting her so that way he can, use her blood. He puts a canvas down, so he's yeah, I'm about to make my greatest art piece or whatever. Daredevil comes and crashes into the window, and then they have their fight, which was a great fight. Yeah, and then of course the big shocker of it was the fact that Muse gets killed by Heather herself, because he had a gun with him. She picks it up, shoots him, dead. Or is he? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. And then she collapses because she's losing blood. And then it ends with the vigilante task force coming in, saving Heather because, Heather was being saved by Daredevil. He leaves, and the task force is yeah, he's dead. I think somebody was in here talking to Fisk, and then Fisk was yeah, you guys are the ones who saved her. To make it a cover-up. So I thought that stuff was very interesting, and also realizing that two things happened in this episode that kind of made me go, huh? How did the cops found out so quickly who this kid was, if it really was him? And two, I'm not buying that this kid was really the real Muse. I think this was just one of those copycat kids, killers. Because, a lot of shows, when you have a serial killer who's supposed to be a big boss for this movie or show, ends up being a copycat, and then we end up finding later on in the movie or the show that the real one's still out there somewhere. So I'm not buying it that he's dead, because honestly I feel like that'd be a waste But then I also realized that, you know, if it really is him and he is dead, well, that means Kingpin is truly the real villain, which we all know he really is. We all know Kingpin really is the true villain, but they're not going to get rid of him because, you know, comic book lore, he's always fighting Daredevil / Spider-Man. So, but still, I just found it the way that they brought in Muse just to kill him off. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Even if it's like, and the episode came out on April Fool's Day, so this could be like a little April Fool's joke from the creators of the show. So you never know, because in the end of the episode, you see Vanessa texting somebody, and then she's trying to get Fisk whacked, like literally taken out, and then of course it doesn't work because his right hand man takes out the killer. So there's that. So what does that mean? I feel like Vanessa knows who Muse is like the real one, and he's gonna come, and then we're all gonna be shocked about it. Or we're gonna get a copycat of Muse, and then that person's gonna do things to Matt and Kingpin, and then they're gonna have to work together to try to stop him. But honestly, who knows? We have to wait and see what happens for next week's episode. But it was a very good episode, nonetheless, and yeah, I'm just excited to see what happens next. So, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much, and have a good day.